So, hi. I see that there were a few people coming in and out. Thanks so much for wanting to attend the session. And if you didn't get a chance to attend it or you want to just jump right in, I'm sure there will be a recording of the session that you can still access later. I think the organizers can help you a bit with that. So, welcome everyone. I'd like to firstly start by introducing myself and also doing a little bit of tech stuff with you guys. So my name is Oana Ria. Usually my friends, family, and colleagues call me Ria. And currently I work since about 3 years with Kickstart Innovation. Kickstart Innovation briefly does programs for scale-ups in order to connect them with corporates. These scale-ups usually come from a background of deep tech or technology in general, and they are divided per multiple topics, one of them being education technology and NewWork, the topic that I am leading within Kickstart Innovation. It's really funny, if you might ask, because it's education technology and NewWork technology, which basically means that we're looking at two opposites. Well, not necessarily. Today, we're actually going to talk about the connection between the two, how the two are co-evolving, but also, and most importantly, how the NewWork trend is really disrupting EdTech, but also a little bit vice versa, because no interaction actually goes alone. So if you have any questions during the presentation or so on, please use the Q&A, and I will answer after our session. So let's start. We're going to look firstly about EdTech, and then we're going to look a little bit about NewWork, after which we're going to look what are the trends for each and also how they interact with each other. So let's start with the beginning. Education technology. Basically, if we look at it and try to define it, it's made up or created through hardware, software, and methodology. Putting these together, you can achieve a pretty good EdTech product. On top comes, of course, manpower and also the practice of evaluation. Education technology has actually been around as soon as or as far back as the first computers, which means that they have been around in all areas of education, from school administration to teaching to digital skills, but also publishers and so on, and also courses. In that sense, there are all sorts of solutions out there, tried and tested, really stable, really good, that everybody can use. That doesn't mean, though, that everybody will also adopt them. Also, education technology really can be applied to a wide range of audiences. You can use them with children, you can use them with teachers, but you can also use them with adults in the learning process. And in general, you can use it for a big, diverse audience. Education technology focuses on more or less three things. Of course, there's more out there, but for the sake of time and simplicity, we'll focus only on the three, which is learning, teachers, and spaces in administration. Firstly, in learning, we see examples of EdTech of methodologies such as gamification or blended learning journeys, or andragogical solutions, which actually address the adult population. There's a little bit of storytelling in there when it comes to delivering the curriculum, but also adaptive learning. Then we look at the teacher sector. Teachers are by far the most important aspect in EdTech, and not all technology is just dedicated to the learners, but as mentioned before, also to the teachers. So in that sense, there's also tools and solutions from the education technology sector for them, which help them build curriculums, do assessments online, also track progress of students and their skill development. And then finally, we look at logistics and infrastructure, which is space administration. There are solutions there that look at student flow and space management, the use of new technologies like AR and VR, AI, and so on during the courses, but also for delivering trainings, and also simple school administration solutions or institution administration solutions. We have a few examples here, actually, talking about this, which are, for example, Lobster, which was using VR to deliver a simulation solutions for laboratories. Brooker Kids, which use interactive learning or online books, let's say, with methodologies for kids and better language learning. And Unibuddy, which helps connect students and future prospective teachers. Cool, we've got this covered. This will be very relevant later. Next up, we're moving to NewWork and trying to kind of see a little bit what it is and how we got here. And why is it in the center of attention at the moment? So, NewWork. By a simple typing of the word NewWork or what is NewWork in Google or any other search engine, you come across this very popular definition, which is the core values of the concept of NewWork are autonomy, freedom, and participation in the community. NewWork should offer ways of creativity, and it gives you real freedom of action. The main idea of NewWork is to create space for creativity and self-fulfillment. So in that sense, if we simplify a bit, NewWork is the chance to not only work for work, but work for yourself while working for work. A bit complicated, I know, but personal development come into play. It's what we are taking away from here, and also creativity and really having a fulfilling job. This term was first coined actually not so long ago, about 20, 30 years, by Benn, which is a German philosopher. And he wrote several texts about it. But from there till what we have today in terms of technology is really a long way. So let's see how this actually transformed into the wave we know today as NewWork. So NewWork currently is more or less divided into 4 categories. Of course, it's divided into many more categories depending on who you ask. But again, let's take it slow and simple. NewWork is divided in culture, organization, space, and tools. What does that actually mean? So in terms of culture at the workplace, we see that there's a tendency towards seeking a flat hierarchy, community and community building, focusing on the individual and his learning or her learning journey, and co-creating the results together. In terms of organization, we see that the principles of flexibility, agility, or agile, in that sense, and the employee experience stand at the core of building organizations. We also look at more concrete things like space and tools. In that sense, space means remaking the office concept. Open plan offices are, for example, a result of the new work trend, or cubicles meant only for undisturbed work, furniture designed especially with work and focus and productive work in mind, and so on. Working from home is also a new concept with this wave, and also due to digitalization and the possibility to use computers and work from anywhere. And also remote working is very close to the working from home concept and offers flexibility to have, for example, a certain lifestyle or take care of your own duties at home while not sacrificing productivity and work. Now, the last but not least, tools. The tools come in many shapes and sizes, but mainly they are focused around facilitating digitalization, bringing in automation, but not taking away, for example, the human side of working together. And also they come in the principles of evaluation, tracking, and coordination for employees. A few examples, for example, for NewWork would be Co-op Academy, Kenobi, and Mentessa. Co-op Academy basically is a learning platform designed to deliver learning materials directly made from or personalized from the companies that are using them or the clients that are using them in a very easy and engaging way. Kenobi is a micro-learning platform which delivers valuable content in small doses, so it's easy to tackle along the workday, and it also enables you to learn as you go during the work. And Mentessa enables community building and peer-to-peer exchanges during work. What we see in common here between EdTech and NewWork is that NewWork is actually essentially borrowing a lot of concepts or a lot of methods from EdTech in order to build solutions to answer to these new work concepts that I just presented. So a closer look at new work trends and innovation. Now that we know what it is, let's see how it has evolved, more or less. We took a look together with the help of course, online resources, but one of the most or biggest online resource is HoloniQ, and also PCs and other ecosystem players. We took a look at what's happening as a market response in new work. So for example, we saw that in the past year, a shift of investments in the European sector can be noticed, whereby the investments that normally go into this bigger, broader topic that would be, let's say, EdTech and NewWork, right, is shifting towards new work, which actually also signals a shift in culture and willingness of companies to adopt this new trend. Of course, the situation is different around the world. For example, in Asia or the US, the investments still stay more or less in the educational sector. But slowly, actually, there are signs of decentralization of the learning process for each person, because the solutions that are being chosen for this are actually lifelong learning solutions and also education apps like, say, language learning or so on. So people taking their own learning possibilities in their own hands. We see this actually also here in this next slide, where the trends, the topics in US, Europe, and Asia are a little bit different. But again, they really focus on innovating the learning way and the way we learn in general, and focusing not only on schools, but also at work a lot, which means that there's a hunger for learning. So again, we see the two topics blending together. Overall, though, there has been an uptick in solutions, but also adoption of solutions in re- and upskilling, administration in general, but also a sore point is data sensitivity, considering that we live in a globalized world and there's solutions in all continents. In order to adopt them from one continent to the other, data sensitivity, data tracking, data protection is really a huge topic. So now that we have an idea of how these two blend together, let's take a little closer look even on how EdTech and NewWork influence each other. Of course, no presentation is complete without a Venn diagram. I put together a few topics that we've seen also in our experience with Kickstart, but also I've seen through research that keep popping up. And there are some overlaps that are valid in both scenarios. So let's say in education technology, we see that there's a trend for curriculum building, pedagogical learning, which essentially means learning for children or school learning, peer-to-peer learning, which means exchanges, use of technologies, as I mentioned before, but also assessment. Not only this, there are also other technologies, if we look closely, such as, for example, tracking the flow of students on campus, or seeing how you can improve the attention retention rate of students, and so on. So there's really a diverse set of topics out there, but also, for example, how to invest in teachers in their growth as employees. From the NewWork side, we look at the topics that are most often brought up by corporates or other institutions, which are, for example, the employee experience. So in the world of NewWork, the employee experience, the individual employee experience actually comes center stage. In that sense, there's a lot of effort going into, for example, personalized learning journeys, making your own journey or your own topics that you would like to learn about, and also specializing in a desired way. The opportunity that if you want to, for example, go in a different section of the company, you can do that if they have the solution. Andragogical learning, basically means learning for adults. The adults basically learn different than children in the sense that they co-create always the materials, while children usually, let's say, suck in the knowledge, right? And the teachers are the guides in that sense. Then community building, involving all of the employees with a sense of responsibility, but also belonging in their work, is a huge trend, and also a topic that also, for example, the startup world or other solutions are popping up in this area. HR, a big part of NewWork solutions are HR solutions. For example, people management, payroll, even a little bit of accounting here and there, but also human development in that sense. So how do you onboard someone in a sustainable way? How do you improve employee retention? How do you up and reskill your employees, especially the aging employees, or so on. And then, of course, we all know tools of productivity, not only tools, but also methodologies for productivity, which are very sought after in all areas. What's very interesting in these two worlds of EdTech and NewWork is that EdTech essentially does refer to a certain set of companies or institutions, actually. So you would have schools, private schools, publishers, students, and we can see a line forming there. But in NewWork, actually, each company that adopts the principles is very different with different needs. So the tools or the solutions have to always be very adaptable. But at the middle, between both of them, there are actually topics that really overlap, which is administration, people management, lifelong learning, office spaces or classrooms, depending on the context, but in any case, workspaces, and as I mentioned before, data protection. So basically what we've noticed here is that how EdTech and NewWork work together is by borrowing from each other. So for example, EdTech tools and methodologies are being used in NewWork tools and methodologies in order to develop them. And also the NewWork tools and methodologies are improving or developing or changing EdTech tools and methodologies. More or less, how does this happen? For example, companies with an EdTech character modify sometimes their offering for the world of work, but also create new methodologies like gamification that I mentioned earlier that can be successfully used in NewWork tools that are used further for employees. And then on the other hand side, companies with a NewWork background manage to seep into traditional, let's say, EdTech consumers, such as schools and so on. So a small conclusion here, and then we can go into the Q&A. What is actually the NewWork influence over EdTech? This was the main question starting. Basically, NewWork challenges the way not only that we work, but the way we learn, the way we live our working life. And thus, it's also pressing educational technology solutions or EdTech in general as a topic or as a field, as an ecosystem, to become more competitive. Like, for example, as I mentioned, companies starting to adapt their offering for the world of work, or adapting their offering to improve, for example, employee experience if their product is, for example, geared towards teachers. Also, it makes the world of EdTech, it challenges it to be more collaborative, to be able to interact and not only go into, for example, an EdTech solution and take the learning journey by yourself. You need to collaborate, you need to exchange, you need to be part of a community in order to improve this. So this is another influence. All in all, these two factors, of course, there's many more, but these two factors actually challenge EdTech to come up with better solutions, more integrated solutions, more inclusive solutions in order to stay more and more relevant. If you'd like to get in touch, I'd be more than happy to answer you. I'm still going to be around here also at the conference, but if you'd like to get directly in touch, you see my email on the screen. And I thank you for your participation there. And now I have a few moments for Q&A. Okay, I see I got a question from Jörg. Does NewWork also cover remote-first organizations? And if so, do aspects like employee health, mental assistance, and team cohesion go along? Less technical functionality with social aspects. That's a really interesting question because it covers a lot of different topics in, well, essentially 2 sentences. So, of course, NewWork covering remote-first organizations. Yes. That is a decision that every organization can make. Remote first is stemming from NewWork. That's true. It's stemming from NewWork, as I mentioned before, having the option to go remote and to better live your lifestyle and so on. And each company actually can go into remote first, or let's say prioritize this solution if they think it fit for themselves. Aspects like employee health and mental assistance and team cohesion go along. As much as they go along for a normal company, it goes along also for remote first. One of the principles of NewWork that I mentioned before is community, team building, and so on, but also the employee experience. This also actually means well-being, and I probably should have used that word in there as well. So technically, yes, if we want a 360 solution, then yes. And less technical functionality with social aspects. Actually, what's very interesting about both EdTech and NewWork is that a big part of what they do or how they are built is not the tech. There's nothing groundbreaking most of the times. They're actually the social aspects or the methodological aspects, the research is what stands at the base of these solutions. So in that sense, a person that knows tech but also knows these methodologies would be, for example, a good fit to choose the right tool. Oftentimes, for example, HR managers choose a new tech tool for these kind of purposes, while it should be probably in collaboration with the IT department or the innovation department. I really hope that that answers your question. Torbjörn Nordling asks, can you give a one-sentence definition of NewWork? There is no set definition. I can try. There is no officially accepted definition of NewWork, such as there is no still officially a fixed definition of culture, but I can try. Let's say NewWork is a methodology of working for yourself in a community, in a fulfilling quest, job, role. Let's say beyond job. I think that would be my interpretation of that. But thank you so much for the challenge, Torbjörn. Does anybody else have any other questions? Of course. I would say that's it. But yeah, actually, it's really multifaceted. And let's not even start about the difference or why there is a difference between NewWork and Work 4.0, which is a whole different thing. Actually, if you want to go and read more about NewWork as a theme or as a philosophy, it's more popular, let's say, in the German-speaking countries in a sense, because that's where it originated. And Work 4.0 is also Arbeit 4.0. That's how they call it. And there's really a lot of materials there in order to grasp the concept a bit. But actually, every theory is just a theory until we start applying it. I see there are no more questions. Okay, so you might be wondering what's coming next. Actually, the organizers have prepared for us a really cool 2D environment in which we can go to lounges, mix and match, network with other participants from the conference. I'll just paste the link here. And I guess we can see us there. I'll be here until 55 in case you have more questions.